Join me today at Cadwell Park for the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 SuperCup. This is for the newer Mark III Mazda MX-5. They're a little bit quicker, they're much more fun around the circuit, and James Blake Baldwin starts on pole position. Behind him is Sam Smith. He's graduated up from the Mark I Mazda MX-5s. Also graduating up is last year's MX-5 champion, John Langridge. He's further back in grey car number 1. Last year's Super Cup champion, Luke Herbert, in the blue car back there, is starting further down than we would expect him. Now, this is because he had a suspension issue in qualifying, so it'll be interesting to see how he comes up through the field. It's going to be close racing out there. It's going to be exciting. It's over to Andy McEwan to take you through all of the action.
Thanks, Lloyd. Yep, a brand new season of racing in Mazda MX-5 SuperCup about to get underway here at Cadwell Park. As a grid stacked full of talent, possibly the most competitive lineup we've ever had. Lots of former champions both in this category and others, all aiming to try and become the 2020 champion. It's taken a while to get here to this first round at Cadwell Park, but now we're here. Very excited to see who comes out on top. Let's take a look then, shall we, at the grid for the opening race of the season. On pole position is James Blake Baldwin, former champion, with Sam Smith, as Lloyd said, graduating from Mark 1s alongside him. James Cousins and Patrick Fletcher are on row 2, ahead of Colin Bysouth and Jack Sycamore. Luke Herbert, 3-time reigning champion, only 7th, alongside the reigning Mark 1 champ John Langridge. Declan Lee and Simon Baldwin round out the top 10, ahead of Adam Bessel and Michael Nibbs. Then David Henderson and Martin Plowman. Good to see Martin Plowman on the grid this year. Braden Fletcher, his teammate, next alongside Martin Tolley. Then Ollie Powells and Nick Rutter. Nick Dunn is 19th with Alex Miller rounding out the top 20, ahead of Simon Fleet, Christian White, George Grant and Xavier Brook towards the back. Then it's Matt Pickford, Chris Richardson, Liz Walton, Gary Mitchell and Duncan Harris right at the tail of the field. So, green flag then waved at the back of the grid. We're about to go racing for the first time in 2020. The blue and orange car is James Blake Baldwin on pole position. The lights are out, away we go. We ride on board with Colin Bysouth, and car's not going very quickly in front of him. That was James Cousins in Aidan Hill's former race-winning car that did not get a good start. John Langridge getting a helping hand there from Adam Bessel in the number 4 as they race toward the first corner. It's Baldwin with the lead. Patrick Fletcher moves into second, so Sam Smith losing one place there at the start, down to third. And now we hold our breath till they all get safely through on board with George Grant, who is always in the thick of the action. Turns through the second part of Charlie's onto the park straight for the first time. And the Clapham North liveried car is looking to try and make early progress here, if possible, but it's just so hard to do because of how narrow the circuit is. On board here with Matt Pickford, and that's the 96 car, and Chris Richardson trying to get alongside. Goes to the outside into Park Corner. This is arguably the best overtaking opportunity on the circuit, but the outside is not typically the way to go. Someone's on the grass to the right-hand side of our shot. They've rejoined in front of us, I think, though, with no major drama. So Baldwin lead, then Fletcher in second, on board with Luke Herbert. He is 4th, but about to go 3rd on the inside of Sam Smith. That was a nice move on the number 8 car. Sam Smith, runner-up in Mark 1 Championship in 2018, won 8 races that year. So a definite front-runner, I think, once he gets to grips with this Mark III SuperCup. Drops down to 4th position then with Colin Bysouth right behind him with a new livery on the car for this year. You're not going to miss him in the pack, are you, with those bright pink wheels and headlights? James Blake Baldwin, though, his now familiar blue car with the orange stripes. James Blake Baldwin, the 2016 champion. He's a 14 times race winner in the MX-5 SuperCup, going for number 15 in this race if he can. Patrick Fletcher behind him, though, is still looking for his first SuperCup podium, and that is Simon Baldwin, I'm afraid. The stepbrother, of James Blake Baldwin, going slowly. Simon himself, a former runner-up in the Mark 1 Championship as well, just as Sam Smith was a couple of years ago. But sadly, it looks as though it's an early retirement for him. So an entertaining first lap of racing then, a big grid of cars we've got here, 29 cars starting the race because we've merged for 2020 the Super Cup and the Super Series grids together again, which I think is a positive move. It means that we've got a big grid of cars and great competition up and down the order. You can see them already starting to separate into their little groups, but because of the slipstreaming nature of these races, it is hard to break away at the front. Clip there of number 82 going through. that is Michael Nibbs, another one of Aidan Hill's cars. At the front, though, it's all getting very feisty there because there was a challenge for the race lead, and it did not work because Luke Herbert's been able to take advantage and move through on the inside of Patrick Fletcher into second place. Fletcher tried that outside line into Park Corner. It so rarely works, at least in the dry. In the wet you can do it, but in the dry it's difficult. And that came just in the nick of time for Luke Herbert because, look, we've got a car stranded at the side of the road, and that is going to require a safety car. That, I'm afraid, might be the number 11 of Martin Plowman. I think it is. Martin Plowman, who was runner-up last year in the British GT4 Pro-Am Championship with some bloke called Kelvin Fletcher, whose brother is racing here today. And Kelvin and Martin have set up this new team for 2020, the Paddock Promotions Motorsport banner that they run under. And Kelvin himself, of course, busy presenting the live British GT coverage this year. But Martin, his teammate from the last few years, back behind the wheel of a racing car, albeit a slightly different one than he's used to. And Braden Fletcher, Kelvin's younger brother, who himself is a talented racer, is also out there at the wheel of the number 10 car, if we catch a glimpse of him at some point. But Martin Plowman, unfortunately, out of the race, and that looked suspiciously as though that was a mechanical problem. That's a strange place to stop without it being a mechanical problem, I'd suggest. So Martin, either way, out of the race. He joins Simon Baldwin as a non-finisher. James Blake Baldwin picks up the safety car, but it's Blake Baldwin versus Herbert. Some things change and some things will always stay the same. These two have been perennial front runners in the championship. This incredible record that Luke Herbert has, though, 3 times a reigning champion, 2017, 18 and 19. And before that, he was a champion in Renault Clio racing as well back in 2015. A 21 times race winner in the Supercup, Luke Herbert. And he's already battled his way through here from, by his standards, a fairly lowly grid position. 7th on the grid, Luke Herbert started, let's not forget. And he's already into second place. You can see Colin Byesouth, 88, 91 right behind him. Jack Sycamore, another new livery for us to get used to. And then James Cousins, who is in that blue, orange and black car that, as I said, Aidan Hills has driven spectacularly over the last couple of seasons. But Aidan stepping aside from driving duties this year to run a couple of cars in the championship. And James Cousins was a driver that he kind of discovered last year. James came in and immediately was on the pace in the Super Series and then moved up into Super Cup for 2020. And he's running strongly inside the top 10 here at the moment. He's the car just behind Jack Sycamore. There he is, the blue car, just coming into shot. And good to see lots of new names maybe to the championship, but names that have been in and around the Mazda MX-5 paddock for some time. This decision they've made to merge the Super Series and Super Cup grids back together has also meant that the Mark 1 championship is back on the package again. So all of the Mazda championships are back as one big happy family. And that really does promote this racing ladder that the BRSCC is creating with its Mazda MX-5 championships. There are many MX-5 series in the UK, but these are the 2 best supported ones. It's great to see the Super Cup starting to get a really, really good driver lineup once again. So Blake Baldwin then leads halfway round this second lap of racing because we are behind the safety car. Luke Herbert second, Patrick Fletcher third, 4th place for Sam Smith. Decent drive this from Sam, but he'll be disappointed having started second, I reckon. Colin Byesouth is next in line, then in 5th, and then it is James Cousins. You can see the field stretching right back, and then we start getting some of the regular Super Series runners towards the second half of the field. People like, for example, George Grant there, who, in fairness, races this car at any opportunity. He did a double season last year, did most of the Super Series rounds and a full Super Cup campaign, and we are grateful for the continued support from George and Clapham North to give us the coverage for 2020. George Grant there, a regular face in Mazda MX-5, so too some others around him, people like Simon Fleet, Matt Pickford, Javier Brook, Alex Miller, Nick Dunn, all people who have been frontrunners in the Super Series. And okay, they're finding the going a little bit tougher maybe now in the Super Cup, but we do have a Pro and an AM class, so essentially those drivers that previously would have raced in the Super Series are now kind of designated as AM drivers, or club drivers as they're known, and the rest of them in the Pro category. But the majority of the field, including many of those former Super Series competitors, are running in the Pro category, which means that they're gunning for overall championship honours. In a field as stacked with talent as this, it's going to take some doing, I think, to work your way towards the front of it. There is James Cousins, not in the car that he raced in Super Series last year. As I said, that's Aidan's old car. James's old car is out there, though, and we caught a glimpse of that sort of grey and blue car earlier on with Michael Nibbs at wheel, number 82. It's just actually a few places back. We're just about to come through shot there, number 82. right behind him, the grey number 12, then David Henderson, and they keep on coming. A brilliant sight they make. There's George. Great looking car, that isn't it? The Clapham North Union flag liveried Rob Boston run car. Rob Boston, of course, a former race winner in the championship. Rob Boston Racing, a very successful outfit in pretty much whatever they turn their attention to, it must be said. But they are particularly well known in the British club level, the club racing scene, for having success in MX-5 racing. Hoping that we're going to see the safety car come in this time, because the Martin Plowman car has been moved from the side of the road just up at the top of the mountain. I think Simon Baldwin managed to pull out of the way as well. I did spot a yellow flag up at this part of the circuit. Chris Kerr, a lap or two ago, might have suggested that his car had been pulled off, but I don't see any recovery vehicles. I can't actually see the car either, so I reckon we are more or less good to go. If he has pulled off, he's pulled into a safe position. Light's still on at the moment on the safety car, but they should go out as we go into the final sector, and then we will get a resumption of the battle at the front. James Blake Baldwin has the track position, but Luke Herbert appears to be coming with momentum, doesn't he? He's carved his way through. The safety car, in a way, not a welcome thing for Luke, because it kind of means that his momentum has been stalled now. Might have preferred the race to just carry on unrestricted, but safety car needed, of course, because the mountain is a dangerous place to have a car stopped at the side of the road. Simon Fleet there, the blue and pink car. Lights still... No, the lights do now go out as they go over the mountain. So James Blake Baldwin then will start backing up the field, and in this 20-minute race, which is already just past halfway, we will be about to get racing back underway again. Then Baldwin, Herbert and Patrick Fletcher, the top three. Can Patrick Fletcher at last get that first podium? He was knocking on the door a few times last year, especially in the reversed grid races. Can he do it, though, from the front end of the grid? He qualified fourth, he gained one position at the expense of Sam Smith. Now he's looking to try and hang on to a podium place. Safety car pulls in. Luke Herbert right on the tail of James Blake Baldwin, almost pushing him out of barn corner as they come across the start-finish line to resume racing, and Luke Herbert immediately pulls to the outside to try and attack. Look at that, he's got himself alongside, but it's the long way round the first corner. You can do this, but it's a brave move to pull, but Luke Herbert is a brave driver. He goes around the outside at turn one, gets the inside for Charlie's, hammers the curb on the inside. I think he looked to the left there to make sure that he hadn't clattered into the side of James Blake Baldwin as well. Thankfully he hadn't, and he gets the lead away. Patrick Fletcher also having to drive defensively. He wasn't really on his toes at that restart, Fletcher, and so Sam Smith and Colin Bysouth, who's really found some speed at the start of 2020, they're right on his tail as they head up the park straight into Park Corner. And another gap back to the James Cousins train in sixth position. James looks to be trying to fend off about half the field, it would seem, for that position just outside the top five. Right on board with Colin Bysouth then, with a grandstand view of the pair of battles going on in front. The two blue cars in the distance are Luke Herbert and James Blake Baldwin, the top two. Luke Herbert just ran a bit wide there out of the gooseneck and got a wheel into the dirt, and James Blake Baldwin is trying to get alongside him. The leaders are starting to really hold each other up here, though, and so the next three, Patrick Fletcher, Sam Smith and Colin Bysouth, might do well to work together here to try and close in on those in front. They are starting to regain some ground as they head over the mountain once again. Back to full racing speed now then. Herbert leads, Blake Baldwin in second. Look at James Cousins in the background on the dirt as well, coming through the mountain. Not a nice place to be grass tracking. With John Langridge now looking back. So Langridge qualified for this race in 8th position, and I think he's running somewhere around there at the moment as well. Adam Bessel just behind. You can see Michael Nibbs a few cars back as well, so he's kind of held position. But this is, as we said, John Langridge's first taste of competition in the Mark III car, and because of the COVID-19 situation, we haven't had an abundance of pre-season testing, as although the season hasn't started until August over here in the UK, they haven't been able to get out there and test until really the last couple of weeks. So people who have new cars, and there the grey and green number 5 car is a great example of a very well prepared new car there for the reigning Mark I champion, but John Langridge hasn't been able to get behind the wheel in a controlled test environment, really. He's kind of learning on the fly. George Grant already knows this car inside out, and we get to have a look at the interior of the number 69 Clapham North liveried MX-5 as it heads up Park Straight, onto brakes, down through the gears, or just down one gear actually, probably into third, into Park Corner, carries good momentum through, maybe a bit too much momentum, runs onto the grass. It doesn't slow him down because we've had a strangely warm summer here in the UK, and so the grass is quite dry. But if you keep doing that, you can get in trouble for exceeding track limits, of course. Leading quartet now then heads back towards mountains, and they're dropping Colin Bysouth slightly, but Sam Smith is very much going with these leading three. Patrick Fletcher sideways, can he save it? Yes, he can. What a save that was from Patrick Fletcher. He might lose third though, and he is going to lose third. Sam Smith on his debut in the championship is back into a podium place, and that was quite a brave move actually. Although he was carrying the momentum up the hill, he had to go to the outside into the Hall Bends, and that is really a single file part of the circuit, but he went through and didn't want to waste that momentum that he had, and Patrick Fletcher will be absolutely kicking himself and probably wondering what he has to do to finish on the podium in this championship. He's back off the podium places now and running out of time actually to get back into the top three. What that has done is it's brought the top two a good second or so over the chasing pack. You can see those two off in the distance there. They are, look, Herbert and Blake Baldwin. And actually it's a couple of seconds, isn't it now? Back to Sam Smith in third, Patrick Fletcher fourth, Colin Bysouth fifth, and James Cousins in sixth is catching them again now. So Cousins in the blue and grey car, almost with them, as they head back out of Charlie's and along the Park Straight. So Patrick Fletcher just lost the rear there, tried to carry a bit too much speed into the mountain. Maybe he was pushing a bit too hard, trying to keep up with these two, who now can do battle, safe in the knowledge that the others are not likely to capitalise if they start running side by side. So I expect the lead battle to further intensify here. From 70, by the way, Xavier Brook, one of the leading Masters drivers for some of the more experienced drivers out on the grid, in age maybe rather than racing experience, but they're still giving it a good go, and he was trying to get up the inside there of George Grant. Those were two of the highest qualifying Masters drivers. I think the highest qualifying Masters driver was Martin Tolley, who is another Mark 1 graduate, and he, I believe, is still leading in the Masters category. They have their own separate championship, and they still compete within the overall points system. There is number 91, Jack Sycamore then, who qualified just behind James Cousins. In fact, Cousins qualified third on the grid. That's the other one, isn't it? That's Cousins' old car, that's Michael Nibbs that he's trying to find a way through. I was trying to convince myself there that James Cousins had dropped down the order, but he definitely hadn't. Leading two now, out of the hairpin, into Barn Corner, deceptively tricky right-hander that, back out onto the pit straight now. We might be going on to the final lap of the race here, I would imagine. Across the start-finish line they go. Yes, last lap board is out. So has James Blake Baldwin got anything for Luke Herbert here on the final lap of the Cadwell Park circuit? Full Cadwell Park circuit in use here, of course, all nearly 2.2 miles of it. Blake Baldwin closing in now. This is the place to be on the tail of Luke Herbert, and he's closer now than at any other point in the second half of the race, really, since Herbert went through. He'll get a nice slipstream up the hill. Luke will drive to the right-hand side of the road to defend. And as we've seen, it's hard to go around the outside here. That's the line that Blake Baldwin would be forced to take. He can't do it. Settles back in behind again. I'm kind of surprised he didn't try and take the wide line in and get the switch back on the exit, but Luke Herbert seemed to have it covered anyway. And that might have been the last opportunity, really, that Blake Baldwin had through Chris Curve, which sort of opens out and then tightens up again here into the top of the gooseneck. Very popular place to have an accident this. You can see why it's a real roller coaster ride. Colin Bysouth with armfuls of opposite lock there as he tried to hang on to his car and hang on to fifth place. He's under no real pressure from behind. There is action behind though. Jack Sycamore there on the grass trying to go around the outside of James Cousins. As into the mountain go the leading two. Luke Herbert, James Blake Baldwin. Blake Baldwin, I don't think he's going to have a chance here, although Herbert got very sideways over the top of the mountain there. There's just no room, really, unless you've got an even better run than that on the car in front. You have to be basically fully alongside into the Hall Bends to try and make that move stick. Out to the hairpin for the final time. Luke Herbert stops it on the apex, accelerates out of the tightest corner on the track into Barn Corner. They've really held each other up on this last lap, but it is the final lap of the race, and so Luke Herbert is going to pick up exactly where he left off last year with another race victory, his 22nd career victory, and he takes the early points lead. This time though, he did it from 7th on the grid. Brilliant driving there. Second place goes the way of Sam Smith, with Patrick Fletcher third and Colin Bysouth in fourth position, because James Blake Baldwin has been disqualified from the race. Post-race penalty for a technical infringement for James Blake Baldwin. That means that Colin Bysouth and James Cousins get into the top five. Well, a dramatic opening race of the season then. Let's hear from our winner.
Luke, congratulations on your win, but from your starting grid, position. That didn't look like it was going to be possible, certainly not round here where it's quite twisty.
Yeah, I mean, from my qualifying result, I mean, we didn't test. Not that that's an excuse, but we had a slight problem with a track arm on the rear in qualifying. So, car wasn't how it was meant to be, but we manically rushed to fix it between qualifying and race. So got that sorted. Didn't think, like you say, because it's so narrow and twisty, didn't think I'd be able to get to the front, especially with James's pace in qualifying. But just got to make a start. You know, there's a couple of guys that come up from Mark 1s, which you know, it was their first start in a Mark 3, so they're still learning it. So I think that's where I got the advantage. Managed to carve through. Luck came in with the safety car, got me back up to James, got the release, and got past him. So yeah, I mean, it was a perfect race, no damage on the car. So yeah, brilliant.
And is this the opening of another title challenge?
Well, you know, I'm doing it round by round. It was a week ago I decided to do it, so I'm trying to do a bit of coaching this year instead. But it was one day, so I thought, why not? No testing, turn up for one day, see how we get on, and so far it's gone pretty well.
Well, we look forward to seeing you out there throughout the season. It's always great to see you racing. Congratulations on your victory, and yes, hopefully we'll see you next time out.
Yep, sick for the next one, so again, it's going to be another challenge, but making it exciting.
Brilliant. Cheers, Luke.
Cheers.